Hey YouTube, I've got a couple things on my mind that I would like to share with you guys. I've been thinking about, and God's really been giving me and giving me this idea of judgment and judging and rebuking and all of this type of stuff. And I've heard, and there are really two extremes that deal with this topic of judging people. You have one extreme that goes so far to the passive side that says, who am I to judge anyone? I'm just going to show everyone God's love. And I'm going to give mercy, and I'm going to give grace to everyone. And I'm going to show God's love. And in a sense, that's true. But they often use it as a way to sort of hide their cowardness, to maybe hide or justify the lack of knowledge maybe. I say that because I've been there. I've totally been there and been on that side. And then it goes to the other extreme, where judgment and rebuking is done in a very self-righteous type of way, a very condemning, a very damning way that hurts and tears people up. And is done for wrong intentions and wrong motives, that they're trying to protect themselves or something like that. And I've been on that side as well. I have been on that side as well. And there really has to be an understanding of this idea of judgment, that we as believers in Christ are called to judge. That the judgment and rebuke of a believer is something that's holy. It's something that's made as beneficial to the Christian. It's a way to build Christians up and to help them in their walk. And this has to be understood in a balance, with this idea. And I wanted to read a passage really quick out of Matthew chapter 7 that really speaks a lot to this. And this is Jesus speaking. And it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. It says, Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through 6, but I'm going to read verses 1 through 2 right now. Do not judge, so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. By your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Now, when we read along a little bit more in the context, we're going to see he's not telling us not to judge. But what he's laying here is the groundwork. He's laying a foundation that we're going to see here in a second. And the foundation is the mindset. The foundation is that when you go about judging and you go about rebuking a believer, you do it in the mindset, in the right understanding and right mindset of this, that God has saved you. If you're a Christian, you're a believer, you look at your own life, and you look at the life that you used to live and the life that you live now, and you understand, I am a wretched sinner. I have been a wretched sinner. I'm the worst of all sinners. Oh, but God saved me. The blood of Christ saved me, justified me. And when we look at that, when we look at our salvation, we look at that and it shows the mercy of God, and it shows the great patience of God and the great love of God, that He could save a wretch like me. And we go about judging and rebuking the believers in this mindset. We go about doing that and understanding that the grace given to me by God, who shouldn't have given me grace, but yet He gave me grace and mercy and love. And He was patient with me, the worst of all sinners, the greatest liars of all time. He had so much patience and He had so much grace to give me, that when I go to my brother and I rebuke my brother or I judge the situation, I do it in that mindset, that the grace that God has bestowed upon me, that when I open my mouth to judge, rebuke, I'm bestowing the same grace to other people. That it's not a self-righteous thing. that it's not a very judgmental thing or condemning thing, but it's a thing that's done to build up the believer. He says in verse 3, "Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye." He's telling us that we are to judge. But what we're supposed to do first is come in that right understanding that the grace given to me by God is to be bestowed on other people. That what I'm doing, I'm not doing to force people or heap burdens upon people's back and to condemn people. But what I'm saying is to build the brother up in Christ or the sister up in Christ. I'm judging the situation. I'm rebuking the person, all for the benefit of that person and for the glorification of God. And I'm doing it under grace. The grace that God has given to me. This is how we are to handle this idea of judgment. We're not to be cowards. We're not to sit and say, I'm going to show God's love in every situation when a situation needs to be dealt with, but we're too cowardly to deal with it. And I speak that to myself. And in the other sense, we're not to be judgmental and condemning like the Pharisees around the woman in adultery. Self-righteous, when they didn't realize the law that they're trying to force on her, they're not even keeping the law themselves. So we go with it in that mindset, and we go with it in understanding that, man, God has given me so much grace. And we can only give grace to people in the situations of judging and rebuking believers. But it is a pearl. And the very last verse says this in Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. "Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before the swine, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." And in the context of what this is saying, in the context he's saying here, that rebuking and judging is holy. This is a pearl. It's a treasure in the crown of the believer. It's made to glorify God, and it's done to show people Christ and to build up the believer. This is a holy thing, and it is to be done. It is to be done, but it takes discernment. We don't want to cast our pearls to the swine, because they'll just turn and tear you to pieces. So it takes discernment when you judge. And it takes an understanding of the grace given to you, you're to give to other people. I hope this helps you. I hope that you understand this, and I pray that I understand this more and more, and that this is a reality in my life. That I'm not being passive and not judging and rebuking when I should, but I'm doing it. I am judging, I am rebuking under the grace that God has given to me. I'm giving to people. This is how we glorify God. This is how we love Him. This is how we show people His mercy. This is how we show people His love and His patience. This is a great thing. So I pray that this helps you. I pray that this encourages you, and I continue to grow in Christ. And I'm so thankful for what He's done in my life. So thankful for Him bestowing His mercy and patience upon me. It's just, I'm just in awe of God for everything. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will be getting back with you soon.